everyone. Welcome to MyCHN's podcast, Health Conversations Without Barriers. I'm Kristen with the marketing department.
My name is Olga.
I'm Lulu.
I'm Trayvon.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about interesting topic. We have noticed that there's a lot of popularity in social media, bringing awareness to mental health. There's a lot of conversations online, but there is a rising trend lately with young people and teens doing self-diagnosing and thinking that they have some kind of diagnosis where it might not be true. So we wanted to discuss this topic to bring more awareness to mental health, but also of possible harm of self-diagnosing. So I think we need to start with identifying what is self-diagnosing.
Awesome. So self-diagnosing basically is when you identify yourself having a medical condition without a professional. So usually this is done like when we Google things. So I know we all Google things. Sometimes we Google our symptoms. So that's the most common one. Also just on your past experiences or noticing something that a family member has had and then thinking that you also have it as well. So those are the most common ways of self-diagnosing. And now that we have social media, we see TikTok, we see Instagram Reels, and also like related to ourselves. But the most common conditions for mental health self-diagnosis is depression, ADHD, and OCD. And then for depression, most people just commonly confuse it with like just being sad. And then ADHD with like common focus difficulties. And then for OCD, if you like really like a neat space, sometimes you just think that you have OCD, but it might not be.
Right, so even though there's some positive moments to this where social media brings awareness to these symptoms, but on the other hand, there might be some harm to where people wrongfully diagnose themselves. What do you guys think? Have you seen that? Have you seen that online maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have specifics, but I've seen it all the time. It's easy to diagnose something easy like a headache or something, or if you even have like a rash, you can kind of get that pretty quickly. But it comes tricky when it's something like mental, like ADHD and stuff like that. The ease of access to like the internet and stuff about the diagnosis, that could be a good thing, but it can also like it could harm you. It can be like you can have irreversible damage, if you like mess up with the diagnosis.
Right. So, and also because we have those algorithms, especially on TikTok, it can be so repetitive to where you see the same thing over and over again, and you might think that, oh, you might have, depression, where that's not always true. So we wanted to kind of bring awareness to that. So what do you think could be the dangers of self-diagnosis?
Well, like how I said earlier, it's diagnosing that can bring damage to you if you do something wrong. That's mainly the biggest thing I could think of. It's just, you can do harm to your body.
Right. And sometimes mislabeling, I would say, because sometimes I feel like you feel certain emotions and you feel sad, and you can confuse that with depression, or and say, oh, I'm depressed, I have a mental condition, where that might not be true. So that's why it's important to be open about it and get help if you need.
Like if it's a common something like OCDC, you might think you have it, you don't have it, and then you start to just kind of display those symptoms, and it might just be in the mind. And then it's something I think you should always confirm with your doctor. So it's the best thing to do is not to put you if you do notice those kind of symptoms that relate, confirm with your doctor first. Don't just say that you do and then self-treat, because I think that's another danger. If you start self-treating Whether that's with medication or with anything else, it's always important to talk to your doctor first and just confirm your thoughts.
Right. And do you guys think that with social media, it's kind of making a trend of mental illness? Like, it's kind of like it's cool to have it. A lot of probably teenagers are mistaken that, just trying to fit in and, you know, what's the trends are.
It's a conversation like, oh, I might have, or like, I have ADHD. Is that something you have? That's a very common thing I know with teens and middle schoolers. Everyone seems to have some sort of mental illness, even if they haven't been diagnosed.
Yeah, a lot of people do it for, like, it's mainly to fit in. Like, if you had that symptom like ADHD back then, you seem kind of isolated and like you don't have anybody to talk to. So with the internet, you have people to talk to and relate to, but people can get into spaces pretty easy to where it's like, I can join it, and if I don't have it, I can get that same information that someone else is getting. So you have to be careful in that you don't like you just be careful with it, you know, with the spaces you're in.
Right. And I feel like, especially for teenagers and kids, I feel like they can get lost and they can get easily influenced by social media. So I think it's up to parents to kind of, you know, control that and, you know what your child or teenager is watching online. There's definitely can be some positive impact, of course, because like you said, community support, sometimes we all just want to feel included. And also reducing stigma of talking about mental health, which is important as well.
And I think if you're a parent and listening, it's important that, like, if you notice certain symptoms and you're concerned about it, talking to your child, maybe like if you see them being isolated, I think that's like a very common thing amongst, because everyone uses social media, so sometimes social anxiety is real, and it might not just be like extreme. It might just be like something you have to like push them into a little bit. But if that's something that you're concerned about, maybe like talking to your child about it would be good first, and then seeing how it goes before consulting your pediatrician would be good. So sometimes when you overthink things, they start happening to you, and it's really just a thing of your mind. Like, you just have to push yourself out of it. So what support do we have at MyCHN for someone who's looking into bettering their mental health?
Right, so MyCHN actually offers a lot of mental health support. So we offer same-day psychiatry and therapy visits for adults and children. We accept Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, and private insurance. So if you ever need help, we have very nice, friendly community here that our goal is to help our community.
And something I want to chip in as well is we have something called WISA. So if you become a patient, AI is very prominent now. So we're now using AI to help better your mental health. It's like talking to a friend, and you're still getting the therapy that you need if you need it.
Right, that's an alternative that is something new for everybody. With the rise of AI, we now have AI tools for mental health support, which can be a more affordable option, which is WISA app. It's pretty much like a friend in your pocket.
Shout out MyCHN.
And shout out to WISA.
Yes. I know we're saying teens also self-diagnose, and that's probably the main thing, but do you know who else self-diagnoses a lot?
Adults.
Well, yeah, but adults can, but it's mainly in like minority communities where like low-income families who don't have the access to getting regular checkups every year or 2 times a year. So they kind of just either deal with it or self-diagnose and still don't get it checked out. There were studies that was shown with over like 1,300, minority households that like 43% has not had like one or more things diagnosed by a professional. So we kind of have to keep that in mind. So where it's like, I know we're like, oh, it's dangerous to self-diagnose, but that's the only thing they have. So I can sympathize with that. So, thankfully at MyCHN, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you can come in and we'll see you.
And we're in a location near you. So even if you're not in the bigger cities, we do have clinics in our smaller cities as well.
And online options,
Mm-hmm.
virtual visits. That is actually for mental health. I feel like virtual visits would be a good start because I feel like you just feel comfortable being at home or in a space that you're comfortable, and just talking to a therapist, and just that first step is the biggest part, where you just try it, you just talk to somebody, and it gets better from there, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before we go, actually, I did have a question. What do we do to better our mental health? So, like, what do you do personally?
Well, for me, I would say I realized that my phone and social media has a big impact on me. I tend to compare myself to people online, so I try to set limits on my social media use, which can be hard, but I feel like it helps me to just put down my phone and just go for a walk. Another thing that I also do for my mental health is meditation. There's a lot of talk online, but it's really, really helpful to just sit in silence for at least 5-10 minutes a day. Just kind of bring to awareness to yourself, your body, because we get so busy with everyday stuff that we rarely find time to just sit and look within yourself, which is really important, and that really helps me. But that's mine.
I think that's a good thing. Just getting off social media, your phone, just kind of just disconnecting from that, because it can bog you down a lot.
Right.
What about you, Kristen?
Yeah, so social media, I like to not get on it before I go to sleep, because there's what they call doom scrolling, or when you just scroll, you can do it for hours on end. And then I also journal a lot, so I don't like to keep my thoughts within my head. I just like to put it out on paper, and then kind of just throw it away and just go on my life, and then do it again, kind of like a cycle. So,
do you ever go back and read it, or no?
Sometimes I do, but then I get super emotional. So
it's tricky to read back old stuff, especially if you're mad.
It helps to see your growth. It does, but I like to throw it away for sure.
I want to add on to you, Sam. I journal, but my journal is on my phone, and I can see year by year. I started in 2023, so I can see how I've been doing mentally. Yeah. I don't like to go back and read it, but I've been making myself go back to read it just so I can see I've passed certain things, and it wasn't the end of the world. I was able to get through it. So yeah. Other than that, I've started implementing actively exercising, because I'm out and outside, not just indoors. Because when I'm outside, seeing nature, just being outside also just helps me calm down, helps me put things to the side, not think about whether it's work or personal stuff. So that also helps. So I've been implementing both of those.
That's good. I feel that our physical health and mental health are very connected. Yeah, so even bringing a little bit of exercise to your routine can help with your mental state.
Definitely. And there's a lot of I guess studies on just being outdoors. I'm not an outdoorsy person, so the best I can do is jog outside. So
that's still better than nothing.
Yeah, it definitely is better than nothing. So that's what I've been doing, and I've noticed there's been a positive change, not just in my body, physically, but mentally as well.
Something I do. Well, I'll go into a small story. COVID, we're all inside. I think it was 2021. I felt like I was sad all the time for no reason, basically. So I did the self-diagnosis. I looked up, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like this? So I ended up self-diagnosing myself that I was bipolar or whatever. And so it stuck with me for maybe a day or two. But then after that, I was no, that's not right. Because I had no intention of ever going to see anybody about it. I was yeah, I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever. That's one thing I have to try not to do, is just not get in your own head. And the one thing I like to do is talk with friends and family just about how I'm feeling, and also going outside, exercise, gym, whatever. But I think the main thing that helps is talking with people where you can kind of like to and bounce off ideas and have like a nice healthy conversation.
Kind of like this.
Yes. What do you think? Is there any like general stuff that you can give to see how to help your mental health? I know people can use some of the stuff we talked about, but is there anything like general?
So I think all in all, there's so much information online these days. There's so many people saying different things. It's important to kind of pay attention and not believe everything you see online, and also kind of have that balance to where, yes, if you have a community that supports you online, have that, but also kind of filter out what you're looking at, what you're listening to. And if you really feel like you're struggling mentally, talk to somebody, talk to your friend, talk to your family, talk to MyCHN. We're always here for you.
Same thing, just don't act on impulse. It's easy to just see something and just do it right away. So kind of sit with it. Unless it's like something like you're bleeding or whatever, like then go get it checked out. But something like that, just kind of sit with it and then still go and contact a professional for that.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to MyCHN's podcast, and stay tuned in for more.